Everybody, this is Carl White broadcasting from the secret headquarters here at the Mortgage Marketing Animals / Freedom Club. And you are listening to Loan Officer Freedom, #1 podcast in the world today for loan officers. And it's all because of you fine people listening to the episode, sharing it with your friends, giving us the great reviews, which the algorithms lets even more people see it. And because we've got super cool people like Mr. Brad Brondt himself. Good to see you here, Brad. How you doing, my man?
I feel great, man. Everything's amazing over here.
Well, you're amazing for sure. So the topic we're going to talk about today is what's called a business development representative. And I think as a way, like to get people to understand what this strategy is, think of the title company, where a title company rep comes over to your office. And I know for me, Brad, they come over to my office. It's a local Fidelity title company, and we've been doing business with those guys for years. Awesome group of people. Anyway, they come to my office, they laugh at my jokes. They tell me how smart I am. And then I refer my business to them, right? It's very, very, very effective model. And we're going to talk about how you've kind of modeled that or something like that, I guess, for the loan officer world. So before we go into that, Brad, just a little background of you. Where do you live? Banker, broker, branch manager? Give us a little layout of the land.
Yeah, so I'm sitting in Voorhees, New Jersey as we speak, but I live in Medford Lakes, New Jersey, not too far from my office. Cool little lake community. There's about 23 lakes in town. It was, I believe, once it was like a vacation area for people. A lot of people from New York used to drive down. So my town is filled with like log cabins. It's like living in a camp. Great community for raising kids, which is the main reason I picked it to move there when I did. Not that I had kids at the time, but I was kind of, looking forward. And I am a correspondent lender, and I'm a branch manager, and I have a business partner, Craig Cook. And both of us are directly related to the owners of our mortgage company, which is how we got into business.
Nice. So, dude, it sounds like an awesome place where you live. I've never heard of it, to be honest, to be totally transparent. What's the population of your basic area?
Yeah, I couldn't even tell you that, man. I really don't know, but the town I live in is very small. There's Medford Lakes, which is where I'm located. Then there's Medford, which kind of wraps around that. Medford Lakes is a very small community. They have little coffee shops and restaurants and stuff like that. But I remember as a kid, like I was always out in the street riding my bike around with a pack of kids. And I feel like you don't see that as much anymore.
Yeah.
But for some reason, I feel like my community, we're like still stuck in the 50s or the 60s. Like kids are riding, they're all hanging out in front of the 7-Eleven or the coffee shop. Like it's just a cool area.
Man,
I love it.
You need to be a spokesman for the Chamber of Commerce there. It sounded. So I know you guys got a pretty good volume going. Do you write most of your loans in that area or with a few people? Are y'all like statewide or nationwide, or what does that look like?
We're statewide. So I'm personally licensed in New Jersey and Pennsylvania, and I just recently acquired my license in Florida. We're also, my business partner's licensed in Delaware, but I would say 95% of our business is coming right out of New Jersey.
Right where you're at. Yeah.
Yeah. Because
Florida. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say most of our business is coming from either referral partners or past clients. So naturally, that's going to be hyper local.
It's when you're talking about the BDR, one good thing about the BDR is, like you mentioned, that you're moving into the Florida market, which that's where I live. I think most people know that I'm here in the Tampa Bay area.
Yeah.
And man, the Florida, I've always thought it was a little bit of an unfair advantage being in the Florida market. As number one, it's so many people here, which is good. And number two, we have a year-round market. Like in the summertime, we get the locals buying, and then in the wintertime, we get this what we call snowbirds, like the people that are buying a second home or vacation home. They typically don't buy in the summer; they typically buy in the wintertime. So we don't get like you and I both have mutual friends that are like up in Minnesota, which has got to be challenging in February at some level anyway. But anyway, that's a whole nother topic. So let's talk about the business development rep. So did I like explain what exactly is the role of that business development person? And then I want to hear about How do you find them? How do you train them, and that kind of thing? So what's their role?
Yeah, I mean, it's really just to shake trees. It started, and look, I haven't figured it out. It's still new. For the last couple of years, I'd say since I joined the Freedom Club, we've been doing nothing but implement, work on processes, work on systems. So I feel like I'm finally on the tail end of that. And now we're starting to proactively recruit. So I don't really have I have one guy who's a loan officer that works under me. But that's about it. Like my business partner and I, Tammy was my coach. I would say the end of 2019, just going like right before we went into COVID, Craig and I went out to lunch and he goes, if we could do it all over again, I would just be your loan partner because you love talking to realtors. I'm good at structuring loans. And I think it was because we had employees and things weren't working out and there was a lot of mistakes being made. And it just kind of like sat with me for a couple of weeks. And I finally brought it to Tammy's attention. I said, Craig said something to me that I really haven't stopped thinking about. Not that I want him to be my loan partner, but what would it look like if we really got married? Like right now we're in that engagement phase where we're running a business together. We're not nickel and diming each other on expenses. Like if I want to run a Facebook ad, I do it without asking. And we share employees like processors, but we're really kind of running our own business under the same roof. What would it look like if we truly got married and his clients became mine and mine his, and realtors became mine and mine his, and we kind of work together as a unit. And I think that's what really where the business development rep position started, because not that I was just doing business development, I'm working on our processes, I'm working on our employees training, stuff like that. But we kind of split the position of a loan officer where he's the consultation guy and I'm, the concierge in a sense. I'm the marketing guy. I can help realtors, and not to say I'm going to be their marketing expert, but I can kind of shed light on different areas of things that they should be doing. So we kind of built this position around that. And a lot of people in the club are doing the business development rep. So it's certainly not something I started. But what we've kind of developed is we're trying to create, two boxes, one where we have business development reps and one where we have actual loan consultants, which are people who understand the loan process, want to structure loans, want to deal directly with the clients, want to issue pre-approvals, but they don't want to shake trees, and I feel like it kind of helped. It helps us both, right? Like it helps the business development rep because although we're paying them less, not that we're talking about that, they can get in front of more people because that's all they're focused on, right? So I can pay a business development less per unit than I would a traditional loan officer. And then you have a loan consultant, I can pay them, the combination of a business development rep and a loan consultant managing their business, I think overall for me is going to be less than what I would pay a traditional loan officer. However, the loan consultant is going to get paid more than what they traditionally would somewhere else because the job that they're working in, there's not a lot of companies offering that position. It's either you're a loan officer or you're a loan partner, right? Yeah. So they can get paid more. They're loyal. They're thankful. They love that position, right? But the business development, although they're getting paid less than a traditional loan officer, it comes back to that saying that you always say, like, would you rather have 50% of a watermelon or 100% of a grape?
So man, I like the way you're putting this. So your business development rep, so all they do is go out and shake hands and kiss babies, so to speak. They make phone calls, coffee appointments, and then I would imagine follow up on those coffee appointments to get the loans. But the loan isn't actually sent to the business development rep, right? Actually, this is a question. So you're like, let's take one of your BDRs, which I met, which was Connor. Awesome guy, by the way. I really, really liked him. So Connor comes to my office. Let's say I'm a branch manager, but let's just say I'm a real estate agent. So Connor comes to my office and he says, hey, Carl, love to do business with you, or whatever scripts. Maybe we can go over that here in just a second. And I go, sure, man. Hey, I've got Jane Doe and John Doe over here. They're looking to buy a house. Do I, on Monday mornings or Tuesday morning, do I call and give that to Connor, or do I call somebody else in your office to give the lead to? Like, who do I send the lead to?
As of right now, which we still haven't figured this out entirely, it's going to Connor because they're his relationships, but he's almost like the concierge. So when he gets a lead, he's having, a 10 to 15-minute conversation with them. Hey, listen, this is what the process looks like. I'm a business development rep here. John sent your information over. I just wanted to, onboard you and kind of set your expectations. This is the next step. I'm just going to get a few, a little bit of information from you so that I can provide context to my team. And I'm going to send your information over, and Gabriella, who's our client relations manager, will be reaching out to you momentarily. Assuming she's not on the phone, it'll be right away, but it'll be at some point in the next hour or so. And her job is to help you with the application, and then kind of walk through that process, because she's taking the application. Then I have a loan coordinator who's running credit, running DU and scheduling the consultation with our loan consultant. So
all right. So you go hire Connor. Connor's a business development rep. He doesn't specialize or really necessarily know loans at all.
Not at all.
He's just got the personality of, he's one of those people, and dude, I could tell it from that Zoom call that we did with him. He's kind of guy, you get an elevator with a guy, by the time you get to the 8th floor, you want to go hang out at the pool and drink a beer with him. Like, just a really super nice guy.
Yeah.
So his job is strictly to facilitate communications and get me to send a referral over. Once I send a referral over, he's pretty much done. So he goes on to the next real estate agent looking for the next lead or source of leads.
Yep.
And so while the business development rep might make less, either paid by the units or basis point, they might make significantly less basis points, but because he doesn't get caught up in the loan process and have to be chasing conditions and putting out fires, which comprises 90% of the average loan officer day. Since he doesn't do that, he can go get a lot more deals. So even though he's making less per basis points, which is cost effective for you, he actually can make more money because he can close a lot more deals because he doesn't get all the clutter. And then you benefit because you get a lot more deals, and you just have to provide Connor with a licensed assistant that knows the loan process, but maybe not be the best person to go out and shake the trees. Is that kind of a basic layout of it?
Correct. Absolutely. Yep. 100%.
I like that. Where'd you find, I'm not going to ask you per se where you find Connor, but yeah, I will. Where'd you find Connor? And if you're looking for the next one, where would you find Connor number 2?
Yeah. I mean, so Connor used to work for a company called Power Windows. Connor is an excellent golfer. He probably didn't mention that, but he shoots in the 70s. And I met Connor at the golf course. My business partner and I belonged to a local country club, and Connor was a bartender there, and he played golf there. But he was also very good friends with my business partner's cousin. So that's how I met him. And, we've been in his ear like, hey, if you're working here doing sales, you should give this a try, and we told him that for a few years. And finally it got to a breaking point where he wasn't happy where he was at anymore. So he reached out to Craig, my business partner, and said, hey, are you guys still, open to maybe hiring me? And we brought him in, and I was kind of taking advantage of him at that time because he didn't know enough, and I didn't have this position built out, and I really didn't know how to get him on the street, not knowing anything.
Yeah.
And we were paying him a salary. So I said, you know what? I'm just going to bounce you around. So I bounced him around, and he worked in different areas doing different things of my business. The most recent, he was doing loan opening and making our Tuesday update calls. Right. So
what do you just briefly, a 10-second overview. What's a Tuesday update call?
Where we're calling the listing agent, the buying agent, the clients involved, the title agent, just checking in, making sure we're meeting all their expectations, seeing if they have any questions
on deals in process.
On deals in process, correct.
Okay, so he's making so you got him bouncing around a little bit, and was the idea to, or now that you look back, is that a good thing? So they learn a little bit about all pieces of the business, or do you think that's not even necessary?
I don't think it's necessary. I think it's a good thing because for Connor, like, the one thing I tell them is, I don't want you to know loans. I want you to know our process, because that's what you need to communicate with these realtors, is that our process is second to none. And, we're going to follow up with your leads, and we're
things like doing the Tuesday updates.
Yeah, exactly. So he'll go over what we're doing. And I think, for the last year or so, it helped us out because we were paying him a salary already. So we kind of took advantage of that and had him jump around, but it also gave him a little bit of background on our process.
Yeah, right? but now that you know what you know, when it comes time to hire Connor number 2, that they don't need to bounce around and learn how to open files, because That's
They just need a Word document that says, hey, this is our process, which our process is how do we handle your referrals, right?
yeah.
From A to Z, from the time they're, received to the time they close and beyond that. And that's all they need to know. And
Yeah.
that's, I can show them what that process looks like in a matter of 20 minutes.
Yeah.
No,
Oh,
I think that, the one thing I've learned here is, and I've done it many different ways. I mean, I naturally like Zoom because I have a lot of other things going on. I'm not just doing business development. I'm also running the office and stuff like that. So I'm juggling a little bit more in terms of plates than Connor is, and I've been doing it for so long that I can handle myself on a Zoom. I think Connor might've mentioned this. With a Zoom call, it's all business, right? And I can speak firsthand on this because like last week I went on a coffee appointment with a realtor for the first time, and we had coffee, and I think it went way over what it was supposed to, but we spent an hour and a half together, which was well worth it. Cause that Friday, which was, I don't know, I met with him Tuesday, Friday, I got my first lead from him. But during that hour and a half, Carl, we didn't have a single, not any part of that conversation was about business. We
what
talked
was it
about,
like?
talked
Like
about,
just,
we talked about soccer, his background of being Jamaican. And, we just talked about things that, we had in common. And I think that's good for Connor. Like, that's why he's succeeding so far. I mean, he hasn't gotten any leads, but like I said the other day on the call, he's only been doing this for like 30 days. It's going to take some time, but it's all in the follow-up, right? So with Connor, he's going on these appointments, and that's the good thing, is he doesn't have to know that much because he's actually building relationships with the right intent. He's not promising anything he can't deliver, like leads. He's not promising to help them with their marketing. He's not getting in the weeds. He's just creating real relationships, and then he'll be able to foster those relationships over time by doing the follow-up.
so how many, so today, the only thing he's doing is generating relationships, which generate referrals. How many, do you have like some sort of a quota of like how many meetings he does like a week, or how many calls, or like, how does that work?
Yeah, he does. I figured if you do 150% of something, you're bound to do a little bit better, right? So the Freedom Club way is to do Thor's Hammer 30 qualified agents, right? So I said, why don't we just do that at 150%? So instead of doing 30, does 45 calls. And then I said, instead of doing it 1 day a week, why don't we do it 4? So rather than making 30 outbound calls for Thor's Hammer, he's making 180 a week.
So he's calling 40,
45.
40. So he's calling 45 different agents. He's calling one group on Monday, another group of 45 on Tuesday, another group of 45 on Wednesday, another group of 45 on Thursday, with the sole purpose of setting a coffee appointment. Are all the appointments face-to-face, or some of them on like a Zoom type platform?
I think he's done. So he has done, for the most part, they're all face-to-face. I think he did one Zoom call, and that was because that lady was located in like Arizona. She probably came up on our list because she might be licensed here. I think she works for EXP. So maybe she's licensed in different states, but she was located in Arizona. So he didn't know that when calling her. But she still took the meeting with him. But yeah, I would say most of them, other than that, they've all been face-to-face.
So when it comes time, like when you go to move into your Florida market, would you get Connor, who's up in New Jersey? I'm taking it. Would you get Connor to start calling that different set of Florida agents, or would you hire a Florida business development rep?
I would hire somebody located in Florida.
Yeah, I agree.
Unless it was like a loan officer that was licensed in Florida and like really has been in the business long and can go all business, because I feel like to do this, to have appointments with agents you've never met with before and it be successful, if you're doing it over Zoom, you have to know more than just building a relationship. There's got to be some, it's for the most part, and I'm speaking through experience, you have to know more than just nothing, and that's all Connor knows right now, is how to create relationships. When you're doing it on Zoom, they want to talk about marketing and, our loan programs and stuff like that. So,
Interesting. So when you meet them on Zoom, they want to talk about business, but when you meet them face to face, it's more of a personal, obviously appropriate, but it's more of a personal nature.
Correct.
Very interesting.
Correct. And I lead, like when I do and I've tried a bunch of different things. Like I've had meetings specific to this type of marketing. I have had meetings about this type of loan product, but what I found that's really working well is meetings specific to our process and how we're going to follow up with their leads and what our daily success plans look like and things of that nature. Because I think that's what, is really important to these agents, knowing that their leads are going to get called.
Yeah. So are you looking to, so 45, so is he calling, so if he's calling 45 agents a day, what does he do? He calls in the morning times and has his meetings in the afternoons?
I mean, that's what we would like him to do, but right now he's just trying to get as many meetings as possible. So he's a little bit more flexible like that, or about that right now. Like if an agent says, "Hey, I'd like to meet at 9:30," he's not going to say no when he only has so many agents that he's met with. If the floodgates were open and business was coming from every angle, then at that point he could be a little bit choosy about his schedule, but he's working around it. So if he has meetings in the morning, he makes his calls in the afternoon.
How does he decide what agents to call on? So here you've got 45 times 4 agents that you're calling, 45 each day. What does he just grab the yellow pages of realtors, or like who does he?
So we don't do your traditional Thor's hammer where we segment them based on tilapia, tuna, or whales
by the volume,
the volume, but we did set it up in a way that they have done 8 or more buyer side transactions in the last 12 months. So they're qualified. It's just that he might be calling more tunas than tilapias or vice versa. Right. But our goal is to go through that whole list, and
wait, so let me just make sure. So you have a list of all agents that are closed 8 or more buyer sides in the last 12 months in your area. And that's the only list he's calling off of.
Correct. Yeah. I have I basically, using a system, I pulled out this list, and there's like, I don't know, 5,000 plus agents. So we took some of the agents off that list and uploaded it into a system that he's working out of. And then from that, he puts people from his master list into the different lists. There's basically workflows that he's using to make these calls. So it's automated.
Yeah. Really good stuff, man. So now that you've been doing it for a little while, is there anything you would do different? Like, is there any part of it that you would do different?
As far as the business development rep position? Nah, I mean, I don't know. I'm still trying to figure it out, man. Like, I think that like right now he's being consistent with the calls. He's getting the meetings. He's had close to 30 meetings in the last month. I'd like to get him to 15 meetings a week. I want to add other things. I want him to do, be more present on social media. I want him to maybe attend or sponsor an open house a week. Start creating that relationship equity with these realtors, not just making the phone calls, doing things where they're seeing him, or he's meeting with them more often, or helping them generate leads, not like being their assistant, but like sponsoring an open house or maybe hanging out at an open house with them is helping them, supporting them.
Now, so he's calling up these group of agents. In his case, most of them don't know who he is.
Correct.
Right. And once he meets them for a coffee appointment, is he the one that follows up with them, or is there somebody else that follows up with them? What does that look like?
No, he follows up. So I have a system designed that once the meeting is conducted, they get an automated card gets sent to the realtor from a company called Handwritten, right? So a card gets ordered right away. That Sunday, they get a text message from him. Thanks for meeting with me. It was the highlight of my week. And then that Monday, they get loaded into the dialer. And now for the next 12 weeks, it's going to be a series of phone calls. So every week he makes a phone call to them asking for business, and then sporadically throughout those 12 weeks, the agents are going to get text messages like how to send referrals, or, hey, I was thinking about you and here's a cool podcast I listened to, or whatever the case is. And it's all automated. Like I built it out. So they're getting a series of text messages and emails throughout the next 12 weeks. And then he's also getting internal notifications. Like I think week 2 or week 3, he gets an email notification with tasks to go on and add them, to as a friend on Facebook, follow him on TikTok, Instagram, the different social media outlets. You know, the next week he gets a task to write them a review on Google or Yelp or Zillow. And if they don't have a Google My Business page, he gets a notification to send them an email, which happens automatically. It's done through the system, but it'll let them know like, hey, I tried to leave you a Google review, but I couldn't find your Google page. Can you send it to me? And if they don't have one, then he's instructed to show them or help them understand the importance of having one.
Got it.
Show them how to do it.
Is there, I guess, just briefly, what would be the difference between, like, what was the decision, and we might have covered this, what was the decision about hiring a BDR, a business development rep, versus a loan officer to work the area that you're in?
Well, because what I've found is that good loan officers want to run their own business. They don't want to work for me. And the ones that do, they have call reluctance. They know everything. They don't want to take my advice, make the calls. It's that simple, and they don't want to do it. You know, with the BDRs, that's their only job, is to make calls. So if they don't make the calls, you know, they're not going to work for me. Right. And there's not a lot of people there. They're like, there's people in our club, right, that are doing these things, but there's not a lot of people that are going to go, hey, I'm going to pay you handsomely and you're going to make a lot of money. And all you got to do is make calls without the stressors of a loan and fires in a loan and taking applications, you know? So I think I'm not paying Connor any more or any less than I'm paying myself. You know, I'm a branch manager and I'm paying myself the same amount of bips that I'm paying him. Right.
Yeah.
Because I feel like it's enough where it's affordable for the branch, but it's enough where you can make a great living doing that, you know?
Yeah, I like the way you say, because the business development reps will follow instructions, because that's their job. It's kind of like if I hired somebody to come paint my house and they're not painting, well, that's not going to work out very well. And so they're more receptive on directions. So I've always thought a big part of the call reluctance is if I get more loans, I have to chase more conditions and put out more fires, and I don't want to do that. So I'm actually going to sabotage my business, make less prospecting. So I got less headaches, less loans to structure, less pay stubs to chase. And when you eliminate all that bad, you know, quote, bad stuff or time sucking stuff or headache stuff. So like in Connor's case, he has zero of those types of headaches. And because of that, he has no reason whatsoever not to make more prospecting calls, get more deals coming in, because he gets 100% of the good stuff, which is money.
Yep.
And zero of the bad stuff, which is putting out fires. It's like a perfect scenario for everybody.
Yeah. And it's like, you know, you've been there when a loan isn't going well, or we have to, you know, deny the borrower, maybe something we did wrong on our end, forgot to look at something, or maybe something that wasn't our fault, you know, just came up during the process. Regardless of what the reason is, we still get stressed out, right?
Yeah.
We get stressed out because now we're not able to help them. Maybe they're going to be displaced when it comes to housing. The referral partner, now we're never going to get a lead from that referral again. We just ruined a relationship. Well, he's making so many phone calls that if that happens, not to say it's not a terrible situation to be in, and we're all going to feel bad because we care about our clients and our referral partners, but he's not seeing that stress, right? All he's doing is like I have it set up where, because we use two systems, the system he works out of, and then we use Salesforce to do all the fulfillment. Well, he gets a daily report every day with like a pipeline, so he can see all of his referrals and what status they're in. That way, you know, he can, when he's communicating, because we're going to have him doing the Focus 40 as well when that list builds, right? Yeah. So they start on the pre-coffee. Then if they meet with him, they go to the post-coffee. And at any point during doing that post-coffee, we get a referral from them. It automatically takes them out of that workflow and then puts them in a different workflow where they're the Focus 40. So he is aware of what leads he has from a bird's eye view. That way, if he's talking to realtors and they say, hey, what's going on with Johnny Klein? He can go, oh, well, it looks like he's still in the open status, which means Gavriella's been calling him every day trying to get an application done. If you'd like, you might want to reach out to him, and maybe if they hear from you, they'll be more inclined to complete the application, you know? So I don't know, man. I think it's just great all around for Connor. He's enjoying it. And the crazy thing is, not that you asked, the disc profile, like traditionally, like when people look at the disc profile, you're thinking it's going to be somebody with a high D or a high I, lower S, lower C, that's going to excel in this position because this position has sales written all over it. Well, Connor's the exact opposite, right? He's got a high S and a high C, but I think the reason he's doing well is because there's a process, right? He logs in, here's the calls he has to make. They're automatically loaded into the dialer. He just presses start. He says the same thing over and over again. He goes on his meetings, it's very regimented as to what he needs to do.
How many meetings is he doing a week now?
Well, he's probably averaging 5 to 10.
Good number.
Without looking at it. But like I said, my goal is to get him to 15. And like his appointments die down. Like he's got a lot of people. Cause I think, and we've talked about this before, like with getting appointments, a lot of people don't realize you need to call them people 5, 6, 7 times before they start saying yes. Right.
After the meeting.
Well, no, even
before and after,
even before to get the meeting. Like I think there's a lot of people on his list that aren't answering the phone yet, but after they see that phone number 5 or 6 times or hear your voicemail 5 or 6 times, now they're like, well, man, imagine if this guy was calling my leads, or
he's following up.
Or you know what, Connor's really persistent. I have to meet with him, like, because most loan officers, I think that's where they fail, is that they call, they'll get this big list of realtors that might be 1,000 people on it, and they'll just call through the whole list. Right.
Yeah.
And that's where we're different, is that we're calling a smaller a segment of that list, right, and adding to it over time, but we're calling a segment of that list and calling them over and over again every single week. So I don't think Connor's at that point yet. When he gets into week 6 or 7, I think he's going to start booking more appointments. But I
agree with that.
Right now, like for this week, his appointments are down. Like he doesn't have as many appointments scheduled this week, which is perfect because he actually has Thursday and Friday off. So it works out for him. But I said, listen, if you don't have a lot of appointments and all you're doing is making calls and going on appointments, then maybe we need to change that list from 45 to 60. So now ramp it up to 60 and then let it phase back down to 45. And by the time it does that, you'll have meetings in your schedule. So he can kind of mess with it in that sense.
How are you going to find the next one? So like you're wanting to move down to the Florida market. How do you find Connor's twin brother, twin sister down here in Clearwater Beach, so to speak?
I mean, I might reach out to loan officers and say, we have this really cool position, because I was a loan officer and I love the fact that I don't look at W-2s anymore, and I'm not worried. I don't even, like, clients are closing, I have no idea. Like, I don't care, so that might be a start. I mean, you bring it up. I have a guy, Matt, who started with me last week. He's going to start making his calls today. And
where's Matt located?
Matt's located here in New Jersey.
Okay.
And when I first talked to Matt,
where'd you find Matt?
A friend of mine who we did a loan for.
Okay.
And he introduced me to Matt. So like when I first talked to Matt, he goes, my branch manager has been promising me Zillow leads for 3 months now, and I still haven't gotten any. I said, well, that's your first problem, right? Like, that's cool if you do Zillow leads, like that's a supplement to your business. It's a little pool here. Maybe it's a relationship building thing, because you're contributing to one of your referral partners, their marketing, because they're already giving you leads. But like, if that's what's keeping you from succeeding, is waiting for those Zillow leads, and that's a problem. Are you calling realtors? Are you calling your past database? And he goes, no, I don't do that. Not that because he didn't want to, but because he didn't know to. And so I told him, I said, listen, I have 2 options. Like, I hire 2 different sales positions. I hire loan officers. I hire business development reps. I'm going to support you regardless of which option you choose. And I'll tell you right now, you're going to get paid more per loan as a loan officer, but you're probably going to make more as a business development rep. And this is why. And I said, Matt, like, here's the thing. It could be a stepping stone, right? You're licensed. So now you have a leg up on Connor because you've been doing loans for 10 years. So you know the intricacies of a loan. You can talk the lingo when you go on appointments, right? But you don't know how to generate relationships. You don't know how to do that right now. So doesn't it make more sense to start as a business development rep, maybe make a little bit less per unit, but maybe make more overall, figure that out, learn how to create relationships. And hey, in 6 months, a year from now, you might have a Focus 40 and you might enjoy doing the loan stuff. And now it's, you know what, I want to upgrade to being a loan officer. And then maybe you pay a part of your commission that you're making as a loan officer to have somebody doing the bit. Like, I'm here to support you and help you build a little team, but I think this is where you need to start, right? So the fact that he doesn't have to take applications or deal with any of that, he just loved that idea. So he, you know, needless to say, he's here now with us, and he's going to start making those same calls that Connor's making actually today.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, you know, and listen to this, I know some of the places that I've gotten business development reps in the past is like from title companies. You know, we actually hired a title rep, you know, to come to the dark side, so to speak, and come work for, get away from title and start working in the mortgage company, because they already had the affiliations. They already knew a lot of the real estate agents or the ones that produced. And so pulling from a title company. But I think, you know, I think really just anything in sales, like furniture sales, like you said, or just anybody.
It doesn't even have to be, you know, who said this? I was listening to a podcast or something, and who's the 10X guy? I can't think of his name.
Oh,
either way.
Yeah.
Everybody's a salesman, Carl. Like, if you call your brother, your sister, your parents this weekend and say, hey, come over for barbecue, I'm going to have some beers and I'm going to have chicken on the grill Sunday, 12 o'clock. And they show up, you sold them. Right.
You sold a party.
It doesn't take a salesman. It doesn't take a salesman to do that. Right. And we're not like, it's not like we're not going door to door selling vacuum cleaners. That takes a true salesman, right? Because you're selling something that somebody, you're selling something to somebody that they don't actually want or need right now.
Yeah.
Right. With Connor, he's just having relationships. And when, you know, somebody thinks about real estate or a realtor thinks about lending, we want Connor to be the first person they think of. Right. And that's all. He just has to have the relationship and then have that shameless plug and let people know what he does.
Yeah. Very clever. Well, man, I love what you're doing. I think you're doing great at it. I like the idea of, you know, that I can help you one of two ways. You can either A, come work here as a loan officer, or B, work as a business development rep. I can see, you know, obviously on a loan officer, that's going to need to be somebody that brings a book of business with them. And they already know, because you don't have time, you know, to train, nor me, you know, to train somebody brand new how to take an application. But yet when we, if we did hire somebody, quote, brand new off the streets, a business development rep, there's not a whole lot of training to do. The scripts are super simple. And dude, we've seen it in the Freedom Club. Anybody that works the scripts, they'll get appointments and they'll get referrals as long as they stick to the script. So it doesn't take, you know, it's not like it takes probably an hour, you know, to master the scripts. Whereas to master, you know, being a loan officer, I don't know, man, I've been doing it for 20 years. I still don't know if I've mastered it, you know, because it's ever changing. It's a moving target and new programs and new guidelines and new exceptions. So, did I anything I forgot to ask you or should have asked you that I didn't? Did I miss anything here, Brad?
No, I think we covered most of it.
Well, Brad, thank you so much for hanging out with me, buddy. Always appreciate you. Looking forward to seeing you at the next Freedom Club meeting, and appreciate you openly sharing your information strategies to the loan officers across the nation. You're a good guy, man, and it's an honor to be a part of your journey. So I appreciate you being here, buddy.
Yeah, you're welcome. And thank you for having me, Carl.
All right, brother. Hey, and just real quick, for those of you listening today, if you'd like a copy of those scripts, the exact same ones that Brad and Connor is using, we'll be happy to give them to you, right? No charge whatsoever. And we'll walk you through of how to use them and a layout of step-by-step, paint by the numbers of the exact same phone numbers or phone calls that Connor's making. If you just go to freedomclubdemo.com, freedomclubdemo.com, we'll set you up with a demonstration call of the exact kinds of calls that Brad does with the Freedom Club meeting. So we'll give you a demo of what one of those are like. And on that demo, you can say, hey, walk me through the appointment setting process and the loan getting process of talking to these qualified real estate agents. and the rebuttals, and we'll do that for you, no charge whatsoever. So just go to freedomclubdemo.com, freedomclubdemo.com. Brad, thanks again. Really appreciate it. For those of you listening, thank you so much. And the only thing I ask, if you would please share this with 3 of your loan officer friends to help get the word out, we really appreciate it. And if you're listening to this on one of the platforms, or if you just click that review button and give us a quick review, I'd be forever grateful for that too. So thanks so much. We'll talk to you when you call in on the freedomclubdemo.com, and looking forward to hearing your story. Thanks again, everybody. Talk to you when you call in.